Hello, today I'm going to do a short walk around of the new Zetor Major 80 tractor. This tractor has Zetor's 4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine, which generates approximately 77 horsepower and 200 Newton meters of torque, if I remember correctly. So let's take a look under the hood. The hood itself is made out of some kind of plastic or glass fiber, and you open it by pulling this tab here and then lifting it. Like so. And let's start from the front. As you can see, here is the air filter, and there is the reservoir for the winter washer fluid, AC condensator, and some kind of filter. I can't see what it is right now. The hood opens relatively wide, so you can get pretty unrestricted access to the engine if you don't have a front loader system. This tractor is a more new version of the Zetor Major, which means that on the older versions the intercooler, which is this thing here, was put at about a 45-degree angle, but now it's put vertically behind the air filter. And I don't know if you can do this with the older version, but you can unscrew this butterfly nut here and pull the AC radiator out to the side, so you get better access to clean the other radiators. Well, what else is there to say about the engine? As I have read on other reviews online, and I also think that this tractor has a very good grunt, or a lot of torque on low revs, which means you don't have to rev the dear life out of it to get something done. Here you can see the coolant bottle and the compressor. And one of the reasons I choose this tractor is because the compressor air system. Unlike many other tractors today, this tractor has compressed air for the trailer brakes, which you can have installed. And I have myself installed on this tractor an air outtake, which is ordinary, well, to an ordinary work air hose, so that if I need to, I can connect a hose to it and clean the radiators from dirt and dust in the field without having to get a separate compressor. Well, as you can see, and I have the Metal Fash T229 loader, which is a approximate loading capacity of 1.3 tons. Let's move on to this side. Under this step here, behind here, is the battery box, which swings out if you undo this nut here, and you'll get access to the battery. And here you have a battery, well, how to say, main switch. If you're going away for a long time, you can isolate the battery from the tractor. And under here, I don't know if you can see, there is the air tank for the brakes and air system. Well, let's move along on the side. These fenders are also made out of plastic, which is, well, kind of cheesy, but what can you do? And one thing that I read online, people complain about, that this tractor is light in the rear. And right now I have this extra weight, which is about, I don't remember, is it 240 or 220 kilos of extra weight on the rear axle. If I, with this loader, take a full bucket and maybe a bit more of dirt, I can really feel the rear end lifting if I'm not careful enough. Well, let's move on to the rear and talk about the work lights. I have not used the work lights yet, but the guys I bought it from told me that if I am planning to do any real work at night, I should invest in some new ones. Well, let's go to a rear hitch. As you can see here, this rear hitch has the quick coupling system, and the top link has also. It has 4 hydraulic outlets and 1 neutral, which you can use to pump fluid around if you have something that needs fluid pumped through. And one reason why I choose the tractor also is everything is made really solid. As you can see here, everything for this class of tractor is very, very solidly made. As an example, this PTO cover here is about out of 5mm thick steel, which other manufacturers would probably have made out of plastic or some kind of other thin steel, and you can fold this down to cover the PTO if you want. And you have on the PTO here this cast iron cover to have on if you want to cover the PTO while not using it from dirt and other things, which just screws off and, well, easily on to cover the PTO from dirt when not using it, and keeping, well, it covered so nothing gets entangled in it. Then you have this hitch system, which is on rails on the sides, and the handle that you can use to lift it up and down, and you use this by pulling it a bit and pushing in on this tab here, which releases it, and hopefully you can see you can lift it up and lock it in place if you want, at what height you ever want. And as you can see here, the holes for the position to have it, and you can completely remove it if you want. It has adjustable links or lift arms on both sides, which I like, and here is the air outtake for the trailer brakes. One thing that I personally don't really like about the tractor, but, well, I'm not really complaining, but I think they could have done something else, is that the switch for the PTO speed is here outside of the tractor, and there you can choose 540, neutral, or 1000 RPMs by pulling or pushing this yellow lever here. But I'm going to have it in 540 right now because, well, I use 540. Let's move along and see what else there is to say. I really like that there are mud flaps on this tractor on as a standard, and they are relatively easy to take off if you don't want them. Well, I'm going to close the hood right now. This is one of the reasons I don't like having a front loader on all the time, but I don't go out under the hood so often, like so. Opa. And as you can see here, you have the diesel fuel tank, which I really like that they have put relatively low center, and, well, it's easy to fuel it up from canisters if you need to. Next thing, these are really good steps, that these are cut out that dirt doesn't get caught in them, and you have really good grip on them even with muddy feet or wet feet. The cab opens relatively widely, and you have really, with a bad back, I have really easy time getting into a tractor if I want. Well, it has a large, completely flat cab floor, and right here you have a kind of helper's seat. I talked with some guys that work at Zetor, and they said that, well, you can use it as a seat, but they haven't really made it a seat, so you don't have to register it as a tractor with a seat or something like that. But it's, well, I wouldn't call it comfortable, but it's not uncomfortable. Here we have a lever to lock the steering wheel in place on what height you want to have it, and by pushing the red tab and pulling this, you can choose at what angle you want it to do what, if you want. I have put it like this, so it, when it's locked, it's right up, so I can hang something on it if I need to. The seat, I have the seat cover in it, but it's a relatively cheap rubber seat, which is actually, to be fair, surprisingly comfortable. Well, sitting in the seat here, let's go around the controls. Here you have the clutch pedal, which at least I think is a bit heavy, because I have really bad knees, which I think most farmers do have. And after I worked about a couple of 3 hours with this tractor doing loading work and a lot of creeping with the clutch, I could really feel my knees getting sore. Here we have the brake pedals, which is locked together by this thing here. As most people know, tractors have 2 brake pedals, and these pedals have the air dosators for the brakes, and every time you brake it sounds like you're braking a tractor. And the same thing happens when you pull the handbrake, which is here on your left side. And even more here on the left side, here you have the clutch lever for the PTO engagement. I like that there's a mechanical lever for the clutch, because my other tractors had electronic engagement, and the clutch on those were, well, example, I don't really like when I'm having some kind of heavy implement, like for example a flail mower with hammers, and I turn a switch and it just throws the implement on. I don't really like that. It's really rough, and well, I just don't like it. I like it a lot better having something mechanical that I can control a bit. Over here you have a lever, which, if I remember correctly, and which I think I do, with this you can choose if you want the PTO to run off the rear axle or off the engine. And if I remember correctly, forward is off the rear axle and back is off the engine. Furthermore, here on the left side you have a nice tray to have things in, and the windows on the sides open and lock in place. Here you have a cab light, air vents around you, and speakers, and a place for a radio, sunroof, which I really like just because I like it, which opens relatively wide, and if I lift the loader all the way up I can actually see it through the roof if I need to. Here we have all the other controls, which is AC on off, fans, 2 speeds, the what's it called, hazard light, not hazard light, beacon, which comes standard on the tractor, rear wipers, front work lights, rear work lights. Then you have this sound curtain, which comes down like that. And how was it came up again? It was probably somewhere here at bottom, but now I don't find it. Here on the right side here is a button that you push and it goes up. Well, let's go to the right side. On the right side here you have the levers for the hydraulic outtakes. Here I have mounted the joystick for the front loader. Here on the other side you have also a tray to put things in. It's not as deep as the one on the left side, but here you have a 12 volt DC outtake to charge your phone or run something out of. And here on the right side you have the 3-point linkage control with float position and the draft control. Here in the back you can open the rear window, which goes a bit heavy, but well, you can open it to get some cables for whatever reason you want to open it for. Then the rear window opens, which goes practically 90 degrees up, and is relatively easy to close it. Then let's move on. Here you have the gas pedal, which is electronically controlled, which I think is only on this version of the tractor, which is the a bit newer version. On here on the front windows you have diagrams showing how to lift up the tractor, and diagram showing the controls of the reverser lever, which you have here. and on this side you have the controls for the gear levers. And this is the gear selector, and you have the range selector. And personally, I think they could have put the range selector a bit higher up, and I'm going to do something to make it a bit higher so you don't have to bend down to use it every time. Well, let's look at the dash. Pretty standard steering wheel. Here you have the ventilation for your legs. You have two air ducts here, which you can choose to have heated air come out from with this control here. Position lights and cab illumination. And this is a bit of a weird system they have, that you turn on your lights here, but you also have to turn it on here, some kind of thing. I don't really understand or remember how it works, but you have to turn both of these on somehow. Well, anyway, then here you have the indicators, and here on the right side you have the front window wiper, which is, well, one speed and one speed only, but you can turn it off whenever and it returns to its own place, and by pulling it you get window washer fluid on your windscreen. And behind the reverser lever, come on focus camera, you have the hazard lights. The dash on this newer version is really minimalistic. You only have two big gauges, which is, one is the fuel gauge and one is the engine temperature meter, and everything else is shown on this little LCD screen. And on the older versions there's a lot of other things, but I don't. If you search Google for Zetor Major dash, you will see the difference between the new and old ones. Here you have the hand throttle, which I personally actually like to have a bit of a modern hand throttle, which is electronically controlled instead of a great big lever. At least something is modern is this tractor, and I choose this tractor before a lot of other modern tractors just because I wanted a tractor which I know is reliable, not just. Comfort came second to reliability and, well, work prestanda. Now let's take a small drive with the tractor. To start a tractor, the reverser lever has to be neutral, and you have to lift the PTO engagement clutch just a little bit. I don't really know why. Then you turn the key on, and as you can see the dash starts to light up, and when you pull up the PTO a bit, the PTO engagement light turns on. Then turn the key and it turns on and glows for a bit. Then you can release the PTO clutch and, well, it works. And as you can see on this dash right now, you just have Major 80, the revs in digital numbers, the voltage of the alternator and engine hours, and I guess if there comes any other warning lights they will come on down here and maybe on the dash, because I remember once I drove this tractor and the air was empty and it said here stop and wait till it would refill it. I will now try to demonstrate that by pumping the brakes for a while and well, see if the air brakes warning light comes on soon. And as you can see, there's a lot of air in the tank before it starts to run out. And another thing about this cab, which I read online, people complain that the cab is very noisy, but actually, to be honest, this is the most quiet tractor I have ever used. Well, I have sat in quite once, but this is the quietest tractor I have ever personally driven and owned. Well, I pumped for a bit and still it doesn't come on, but there comes on a warning light which says stop, and here there comes on an indication light which shows that it is pumping up the air brakes. And when that happens, you have to stop, and well, you should stop and wait for the air reservoir to fill up. Now let's take a small ride. Lock the steering wheel in place. Push the clutch down. I think I already have my range, so we will put the first gear and slowly just release the clutch. Oh no, I wasn't in. I was on the reverser, and this gearbox is completely 100% synchronized, which I like. The only thing I don't like a bit is that you have a bit of a restricted view to a front loader, but I am going to in the future actually mod it a bit and put a camera on somewhere here on the loader arm and put a display in the tractor so I can see what I'm doing when I'm doing some kind of precise loader work, and I will probably make a video out of it in the future. Well, now let's just release the clutch and go. The steering is of course hydraulic, so you can turn it with one finger if you want to. And right now I'm not going really fast, but as I told you before, the seat is very cheap and original, but it's still surprisingly comfortable over rough terrain. But I am personally going to take this seat out and put in some kind of a bit better or more expensive air seat. As you can see here, you have relatively big and nice rear view mirrors. You have a good visibility over the 3-point linkage and everything here, thanks to this lower window. And well, what more is there to say about this tractor? This tractor is a workhorse, nothing more. It's almost minimalistic in the way of comfort. And to be honest, the only thing that was important for me in comfort was that it had an encased head and an AC, because it gets up to about plus 40 Celsius here where I live, and working in a tractor at that temperature without an AC, that's just suicide. So let's go for a little ride on the road. Driving an old truck and driving this tractor, that you have 12 gears to go through manually. Of course you can jump a bit of some gears, but and still, for me personally, this tractor is relatively quiet on high revs, and as I said earlier, this tractor has a lot of torque on lower revs, so you don't really have to rev it so much to work with it. in neutral, pull the handbrake. And well, what else is there to say about the tractor? I think it's worth the money it costs. Thank you for watching this review of, well, walk around on first impressions review of the Zetor Major 80 tractor. If you have any questions at all, please write them in the comments and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. I will, this summer, when I have gotten a bit more hours on this tractor, I'm going to give more of an in-depth review of what I think it's like to work with this tractor and what it's like to own it over a longer period of time. And I'm probably going to also put out videos of this tractor working, so... Well, anyway, thank you for watching and leave a comment or a thumbs up if you liked it.